This small country, nestled between the desert and the sea, without any permanent rivers, was once among the poorest countries on Earth. For centuries, the people of this region lived in modest villages, humbly practicing agriculture and fishing. But everything changed in 1966. Over several decades, the country transformed into a global business, financial, and tourism hub, where cutting-edge technologies are implemented everywhere and incredible projects are brought to life. We are talking about the United Arab Emirates. How did they manage to become world leaders in nearly everything in just 50 years? You might say it's simply due to oil, but that's only part of the story. In this video, you'll discover what the petrodollars were spent on, how much the Burj Khalifa earns, and when will it pay off? Where does fresh water, salmon, and most importantly, a ski slope come from in the desert? The mystery of the United Arab Emirates. If you want to know how a few small states became an economic giant, then keep watching this video. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Undoubtedly, the discovery of oil deposits and the attainment of independence played a significant role in the UAE's development. Following the oil price surge in the mid-1970s, the country was showered with petrodollars. Imagine a poor man suddenly acquiring immense wealth. The first thing he is likely to do is to buy stuff. Only after fulfilling all his dreams, he might consider saving and growing his capital. Eventually, the same thing happened with the Emirates. Economic consultant Hamid Hassan Al-Bar recounted that in the newly liberated UAE of the 1970s, they did nothing but spend. Those living in the Emirates only wanted to consume the best, the most expensive, and exotic stuff. Numerous historical examples show state revenues, even colossal ones, being, to put it mildly, inadequately used for national development. The first Emir of Dubai, Rashid bin Saeed Al Maktoum, understood that the country might become poor again in a few decades after the oil runs out. He made a remarkable statement. "My grandfather rode a camel. My father rode a camel. I drive a Mercedes. My son drives a Land Rover. And my grandson is going to drive a Land Rover. But my great-grandson is going to ride a camel." What this phrase means is that oil reserves are finite, and it's crucial not only to consume the super profits, but also to diversify the economy and rely less on hydrocarbon sales. But what did they do that we might not know about? Stay until the end to discover these amazing facts. To attract specialists and eventually tourists, it was essential to create transportation hubs. Considering the country's location, it made sense to start with the construction of an airport and a seaport. This is precisely what the first emir began with. Construction of the airport began in the late 1950s. Once operational, the Dubai airport was gradually expanded and modernized. The most recent fundamental reconstruction and renovation were completed in 2008 at a cost of around $4.5 billion. As a result, today it is one of the largest aviation hubs in the world, with an annual passenger flow exceeding 90 million people. For comparison, London's Heathrow Airport has a passenger flow of approximately 62 million people. An airport is a good thing, but if it's surrounded by desert, it will remain a transit point. How can one attract investors under such conditions? Oil and money won't help here. Moreover, let's remember that in 1985, oil was priced at about $30 per barrel. And in the following year, 1986, the price dropped to $10. By the way, not all countries withstood such a collapse and ultimately fell apart. In 1985, just 7 minutes away from the international airport and close to the world's largest port, which annually receives 15 million containers, the Jebel Ali Free Economic Zone, JAFZA, was opened. Investors were given almost complete freedom of action. By law in the UAE, foreigners opening businesses must have local citizens as partners. In Jafza, this rule was abolished. Additionally, no duties, zero income tax, a 50-year exemption from corporate taxes, and no restrictions on attracting foreign labor. Under such fantastic conditions, investors and businessmen from all over the world flocked to Jafza, and Dubai transformed into one huge construction site. Offices, production facilities, hotels, and skyscrapers were being built. In just over 30 years, more than 7,000 foreign companies have registered in Jafza, with 100 of them among the top 500 largest in the world. Among them are Coca-Cola, General Electric, Nestle, and Procter & Gamble. It's worth noting that today, Dubai has over 20 free trade zones. And in 1985, another important event took place. However, it didn't cause as much of a stir as the opening of Jafza. Emirates Airlines was founded with the support of the royal family of Dubai. In just under 30 years, the company has risen to 4th place globally in terms of passenger and commercial cargo transportation. Interestingly, the company mainly relies on sports for branding and promotion, specifically football, providing sponsorship assistance to various clubs and stadiums, accounting for over $200 million annually. To put this into perspective, Emirates spends about $2.5 million per year on advertising on American television. In the post-industrial world, tourism has become one of the most profitable sectors of the economy. Attracting tourists to the desert is not an easy task, but everything is possible with money and determination. If there are not enough historical and natural attractions, you have to create them. If you followed the world news in the 2000s, you probably remember that the topic of the UAE was featured almost all the time. On January 4th, 2010, the world's tallest skyscraper, Burj Khalifa, was inaugurated, standing at a height of 828 meters. It houses hotels, restaurants, apartments, and offices. About $1.5 billion was invested in the construction of the super skyscraper. Some experts doubted that the investment in this colossus would ever pay off. Today, looking back at those doubts seems funny. The building earns money not only from renting out spaces, but also from tourists who actively visit the tallest skyscraper in the world. According to data from 2021, as you remember, a challenging year for tourism, Burj Khalifa was visited by 16,730,000 tourists. Considering the ticket price of $37.16, it's not hard to calculate that just the tourist tickets brought in $621 million. So the building is indeed profitable, and quite handsomely so. To attract, you need to amaze. Everything must be the best of the best on the planet. Creating the world artificial archipelago became no less ambitious of a project. In just about 4 years, 200 artificial islands were created in the sea, with the contours replicating the world map. The project cost $2 billion. In October 2006, the Sheikh gifted one of the first constructed islands to Michael Schumacher, and by December 2008, approximately 70% of the real estate built on the islands had been sold. On November 4th, 2010, the world's largest theme park, Ferrari World, opened on the artificial island of Yas, covering an area of 86,000 square meters. Featuring the world's fastest roller coaster, the park attracts over 1 million visitors annually. What makes UAE such a unique country? Find out right now. Perhaps the most fantastic project of the 2000s that will astonish you is the indoor ski resort with an area of 22,500 square meters. Opened in November 2005, Ski Dubai is a massive ski resort offering a wide range of snow activities such as sledding, snowboarding, skiing, the use of necessary equipment, and even meeting penguins. The indoor complex's height is comparable to a 25-story building, and the temperature inside ranges between -1 and -6 degrees Celsius. The snow cover at the resort is up to 70 centimeters thick. The maximum capacity of the resort is up to 1,500 people. Ski Dubai features 5 slopes of varying steepness and difficulty, as well as lifts for transporting skiers and snowboarders to the top of the hill. World celebrities and wealthy people simply couldn't resist visiting these luxurious hotels, investing in real estate in a rapidly developing market, and skiing indoors. As a result, the Emirates has become a fashionable and prestigious place for both leisure and work. To avoid confusion, let us clarify the UAE's governmental structure. Essentially, it is a confederation comprising 7 emirates. Formally, all emirates are politically independent and equal to each other. However, historically, 5 emirates delegate political powers to the rulers of Abu Dhabi and Dubai. One of these rulers serves as the UAE's president, while the other always acts as the prime minister. It's worth noting that 85% of the country's area belongs to the Emirate of Abu Dhabi. Thus, when discussing the UAE's development and achievements, we primarily refer to the 2 emirates of Abu Dhabi and Dubai. Keep watching to learn how the UAE has tackled challenges and created a successful agricultural sector in the desert while addressing the issue of fresh water. Grandiose construction projects require a significant workforce. In planning its development strategy, the government undoubtedly considered the rapid population growth which could threaten a freshwater deficit in a desert environment. As you may recall, there are no permanent rivers in the UAE, and unlike Saudi Arabia, there are no aquifers either. Underground water in the Emirates is 90% brackish. Therefore, the local population has traditionally relied on wells and artificial irrigation systems. Dams in dry riverbeds, wadis, where rainwater is stored. Channels were dug from these backwaters to areas that need the water for consumption and irrigation. In a country where precipitation reaches up to 100 millimeters per year, with a sharp increase in consumption, no number of dams would suffice. However, with an ocean nearby, water can be desalinated. In 1977, the UAE became the first Persian Gulf country to implement a desalination plant with a production capacity of 20,020 gallons per day, 91 cubic meters. Here are some more astonishing figures. Today, over 9 million people live in the UAE, and the average water consumption rate exceeds the availability indicator by 39 times. That is, people consume 39 times more water than nature provides. Furthermore, about 90% of this water is obtained through desalination, an impressive statistic. Now, the UAE accounts for 1/3 of the world's desalination capacity. But that's not all. Water must not only be desalinated, but also stored to avoid emergencies. In 2018, the world's largest artificial freshwater reservoir was created in Abu Dhabi, under the Liwa Desert at a depth of 80 meters. The project consists of a network of 315 wells, through which water flows from the Shuihat desalination station at a volume of 7 million gallons per day, about 32 million liters, or 32,000 tons. It took 27 months to fill the reservoir completely. The construction of the facility cost $435 million. But now the Emirates have a guaranteed reserve of fresh water with a volume of 26 million cubic meters. The increase in drinking water volumes due to the introduction of desalination capacities has contributed to supplying drinking water to rapidly growing megacities. As a result, there is now so much desalinated water that it's even enough to support the development of agriculture, which seems like a pure fantasy in desert conditions. Speaking of agriculture, we must first mention dates. The United Arab Emirates, like many other Arab countries, owes much of its development and to some extent survival to a single tree, the date palm. According to scientists, their cultivation began 6,000 years ago. In the early 1970s, date palms began to be planted outside of oases, provided with life-giving moisture through drip irrigation. Today, the UAE is one of the main exporters of this delicious and nutritious food. In total, there are more than 40 million date palms in the country. The growth in export volumes is impressive. In 2010, the export value amounted to $48.1 million, while in 2020, it reached $235 million. Earning from the export of agricultural products in desert conditions is indeed an impressive feat. Other branches of agriculture are also developing, and we'll mention just two of the latest achievements. Can you believe that the UAE farmers have learned to breed salmon? And they are even trying to grow rice? In 2019, a facility in the southern Jebel Ali district of Dubai produced the first batch of salmon born and raised in the UAE. As you know, salmon need fresh, flowing, and clean water, which simply doesn't exist in the natural conditions of the UAE. However, new technologies have made this fantastic project possible. Specialists have managed to almost halve water consumption. Modern purification systems allow farmers to reuse 98% of the water that has already passed through the fish reservoirs. In June 2020, farmers announced positive results of the rice cultivation project. The yield amounted to 763 kilograms of rice per 1,000 square meters. Of course, the yield is not that impressive. In China, it's about 3 times higher, but the climatic conditions are incomparable. Today, the Emirates is one of the leaders in its region across almost all indicators. Having created a grandiose infrastructure, the country continues to develop its economy. If we ask ourselves today, what will happen to the UAE when oil runs out? The answer is obvious. Nothing too serious. In fact, in the last pre-pandemic year, 2020, oil revenues in the UAE accounted for only 29% of total revenues, and in the Emirate of Dubai, they fell almost to zero, amounting to a mere 6%. So the soul of Rashid bin Saeed Al Maktoum can rest in peace. His son's son will also ride a Land Rover. However, who knows? Maybe it will already be a domestically produced electric or flying car. The Emirates knows how to surprise us.